What's going on, guys? Last video we put the transmission back in Daisy here, figured out our spacing, got all that checked, taken care of. We ended up, I believe, with 30 seconds of movement in the torque converter, which was good. Got it all bolted up. Took her out on a test drive. Everything seemed to work great. So today I've got a couple parts in. I got the mini spool and I got a seal to replace on this end of the housing. As you guys can see here, I've already cleaned this side up, got some primer on it. I've already cut one of the old mounts off. Now I'm going to show you guys how I cut it off to save it. As you can see up in there, a lot of the factory face is still there. I know they're not that expensive. You can probably buy them on eBay between, I don't know, somewhere between 15 and 30 bucks, depending on the company and where you get them. But you know what? I figured they're here. You gotta cut them off already. You just take a little bit of extra time. They come off easy enough. Slide them over to where you need them, re-weld them back up. All that has to happen anyway, so just takes a little bit of extra time to cut them off, but you can't save them, can't reuse them. So we're gonna go ahead and get myself set up. We will go ahead and get the cover off this thing here, get the old spider gears out, and start installing our mini spool. All right, I believe I got all the tools I needed. A couple drills, some wire brushes, a little hammer, channel locks, little wrenches, a couple little odds and ends there. My wife's out here. She's gonna be helping me film. So I'm gonna pass the camera off to her. We'll get this cover off real quick and see what I need to do to get the our little mini spool. Let me show you what it looks like. Let's see. Now this, I will be putting a link to this in the description. But the way these things are, they're just a couple halves go together. Show you exactly how they do that once we get the differential cover off and those old spider gears out. So I'll go, let's get the cover off and start installing our mini spool. What's going on, guys? Sorry to interrupt your video, but at this point in the video I had to. Now for those of you that are new, I do all my videos at once, so half my videos a month are edited and uploaded while I'm out here offshore. And as a matter of fact, I'm sitting here and I'm editing this video right now. But at this point in the video, where I say I'm going to start installing the mini spool, I'm watching myself do this. Wasn't quite happy with what I had done. At this part of the video, I'm at the end of my time at home. I'm actually kind of rushing myself to get this going, to have the content for you, so I could, anyways, wrong mindset. Kind of put myself back in my 16-year-old, just got my driver's license, had my car at a buddy's house two towns away. We tore it apart, kind of mess, and I kind of reverted back to that as I was installing this mini spool. Don't get me wrong, I will show you what I did to the mini spool, but I didn't want to do all that without having a new one in its place to do to do a better install. At this point with the car and everything I've learned, there's no reason why I can't. So we're going to do a better install. Next video we'll cover this part of the video again. Show you what I did to the first mini spool, what it looks like, and then the two options I came up with while editing this video that in my mind are a better fit for this and just better all the way around. So I'm not going to hold you up anymore. We'll get back to a different part of the video, and I'll see you guys there. Done? Mm-hmm. Ready? Yeah. All right. Got all the internals taken out up here. Got the axle out, as you guys see. Went ahead and took my little flapper wheel. Cleaned up the edge around here. So now we're going to pull the axle seal out. I'm going to get all this stuff out of there. You want to come over here? Now you can pretty much do anything you want. They have little tools you can get behind here, a little slide hammer, you can knock it out. They got, people will put screws in here and use a slide hammer. They got a seal driver that goes in, boom, rests up against here. Do the same thing too. You can use a pair of channel locks, get up underneath there. Basically just grab that end. Hit it just like that. Same concept as the little seal driver. I don't own one. The only thing you don't really want to do, so you can see, if you want to come over here, when I put my my channel lock's grabbed here, the other end of the channel lock's grabbed here. So I use the end of the seal to help pull the seal out of the housing, like this. Now, one thing you don't want to do, and I have seen people do it. Matter of fact, wait a second. Tap that back into place real quick. Just for visual purposes, don't take a screwdriver and go in this way. You run the risk of like warping it here a little bit and gouging it. You can take it out this way with either the removal tool and the channel locks like I did. You can actually use the screwdriver the same way, put it in behind it, just to grab the seal. Do the same thing. That was easy because I already had it out before. Soap paper towel. So you wipe out the inside there if you want to look. Sealing surface of the seal looks really good all the way around, just so you know. Bearing looks really good. Another thing too is you want to, if you focus in right here, you see the end of the axle where it's tapered. You don't want the seal flush with this because an axle will move, have a tendency to move in and out. If you had the spider gears in there, this mini spool actually, it doesn't allow the axle to move in as far, but the seal will usually sit pretty much up against the bearing here. As you can see where it's kind of discolored from weather, then really shiny, that's where the end of the flat spot of the seal sat. So it's a good idea to take a visual picture too of how far back the seal goes before you pull it out. Probably should have done that before I yanked this one out, but I've already done that side. These are our new seals, actually, for the 8.8. It's a national oil seal. Part number on there. Probably won't remember to put this in the description or link to it. You can pick that up at any auto parts store. They're like $6-7 bucks, I believe. Fairly cheap. Now, one thing I will do on all seals is because the amount of work it takes to get this axle back out to change this seal, is I just take a little bit of silicone and just put it around the edge. That's it. You don't have to goober it on there, or just a thin layer. That's all you gotta do. At least that's what I do. You don't have to do it. I mean, most of the time they don't leak. As long if you didn't scratch this or it's really good shape, chances are it won't leak just by putting the seal in. But I do every single time just to give myself that little bit of insurance. Now, another thing too, I have never owned a seal driver. I've always had extra things laying around. Little plate. So, you want to come up here? And I'll put my finger in here, set it up. See, it's already started. You got a low side. I'll give one side a little bit of a low side, and I'll take a little bit of hammer and just tap the edge all the way around half a dozen times. And if that doesn't work, do it gently, it will go in. I've never ever owned a seal driver. I've either been able to get away with that. I've always got extra bearing races laying around. That would probably be even better. You can put over that. So now I'm no longer tapping on the face of the seal, or flat piece of metal, which is basically the same thing as a seal driver. Goes over the whole seal itself. You could tap it all the way in, but of course, because it is a flat piece of metal and it goes over the axle tube itself, it won't let you push that in farther. So that's where something like this comes in, real handy. Put it on there. You just tap the corners. You can see it's going in. And don't hit one side. Kind of rotate your areas if you can go all the way around. So now you can see how far back that sits. Got a little bit of dirt on there, but now you can see it's got that little lip on it. And that's as far back as it goes. It is actually up against the bearing now, or pretty close to being up against the bearing. There's no reason for me to go any farther back. That's where it's been its whole life. They never had a problem with it before, so no reason for me to go any farther back, so that's good. Now that that seal is in, that's done, basically. It just needs to have the dust cover put back on. The brake bracket, the brake caliper bracket has to be put back on. We're going to leave that off right now. We'll go ahead and put some more. I like paper towels. Put some paper towels in there, try to keep dirt and stuff off the bearing. We got that. Now the next thing, like I said earlier, doing this as cheap as possible, which is why I went with a spool. That will have a link in the description. It's 45 bucks, $55 I think it was. Change the seals, because these two parts require the most amount of work to do. Bearings look great. That's why I left them alone. Make sure you check those out if you're going to do the same thing. So yeah, we changed the axle seals and went to a spool. Biggest pain. Next one is these guys here. Like I said, cut it off. Probably find these anywhere between $20, $30, $40. I'm not sure, depending on where you buy them. But I'm going to show you how to cut that off and save it, because it'll save you. The price of these will definitely be more than enough to pay for seals if you need them, a bearing if you need it. Plus, it's just fun. And like I said too, if you're taking this and putting it underneath an old car like that where the spring perches are different spots, you got to cut them off anyways. Might as well do. I mean, it takes a few extra minutes to cut it in a way where you can reuse them. So, come over here, I got a cut-off wheel set up right here. And what I'll do is, if you can see right here, where I've already cut this weld, what I do is I'll go straight down on it, right up alongside the pad, and just cut the weld away. Straight, just like this, all the way around. Now, if you're cutting these off, you are gonna cut into this tube a little bit. Don't be discouraged. Don't worry about that. Because if you're cutting this off to move it or weld it, you can weld that up just as easy. These things are extremely thick, and as long as you're not trying to cut all the way through the tube, you'll be fine. Just make sure you clean it out with acetone brake cleaner. You can use a little torch to heat it up, or if you got like a big 220 welder, then you can always just turn the amps up on that. I have a smaller 110 welder that goes to 140 amps. So heating it up a little bit first helps penetration, make sure I get a nice good flow, and it helps burn out any contaminants. But like I said, take this guy here, cut it straight down along the side of the pad. Once that's cut away, then I'll go sideways, just like this. just at a little bit of an angle to cut this top part of the weld away and go just up inside the lip on the bottom here. Now you're not gonna cut all the way through, but go ahead and show it. Get you set up. Get the camera set up. I'll go ahead and cut this off just like I said. And I'll cut the side going sideways with each of the welds. And we'll knock that thing off. And I'll show you what it looks like. Alright, got a little spring seat cut off. See, it didn't take me very long at all. Got a little arrow there, and it kind of remind me which way it goes. I'm not going to weld it on just yet. I'm going to wait till I get the rear end out of that car first. That way I can double check all my measurements, which is very important, by the way. But I'll give you a little close-up of this guy right here. You can see the original bracket still held its shape where it sits on the axle tube itself. The weld never went all the way through. All I did was just cut into as far as the weld would go. That way I can take this, kind of clean that up a little bit, and it'll slide and still has the same shape on the tube. And I told you I'd show you the axle tube as well. As you can see, this is where the weld was along the outside edge here. This edge, as you can see where it's nice and flat, is where I cut into. Now I'm about maybe a 16th, 3/32 into the housing itself on both sides, which is no big deal. But you can see the weld that was on that perch all the way around is cut off. So there is not a whole lot of grinding there, which is awesome, which is good actually. So now I'm going to get the welder set up. But first I'll get the camera set up. Use my flapper disc there. I'm going to go ahead and clean some of the rust and contaminants away from where I cut it. Then I got my little torch right there. Go ahead and heat it up, burn off anything else that's there. Kind of preheat it a little bit. I'll go ahead and weld those spots up that I cut into. Clean them back down with the flapper wheel. And I'll show you guys what it looks like. Alright, got our axle tube all welded up, got it all ground down and cleaned up. Show you guys real quick. See what it looks like. Got everything pretty much smooth. Got our old pad right there, just waiting to be welded on. Wherever it needs to be welded on. I'm gonna wait to do that till I get that rear end out of the car. There are some final measurements I need to take just to make sure I don't get that thing crooked, because it'd look really, really silly going down this drag strip sideways, or just the street in general. I know you guys have seen those on the highways and stuff. They do look really, really funny. So I'm gonna try to keep myself from doing that. But that's a whole other video. However, we were able to get our old spider gears out. We got our mini spool installed. Had to do a little bit of clearancing to get it fit just right, but it feels good. It's installed, ready to go. Got our axle seals installed as well. Looked at the bearings while we were in there. They look good. So now the only thing I got to do to this is pretty much just tear it apart, get a wire wheel, get the mud, the dirt, the grime, everything off, so I can get it finished primered. But that's later. I am going to end this video right here. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope it helps you out on your projects, or at least puts you in a direction that you want to go. Again, I want to say thank you guys for hanging out, help me build this channel. If you're new, don't forget to subscribe, turn on notifications, hit that like button for me. I know I've said in the past I do want to try to do a 1,000 subscriber giveaway. Just haven't quite figured out what I want to do for that, but I do want to do it. So again, if you're new, hit that subscribe button. Definitely share with your friends. If you guys have any questions, leave them in the comments. And yeah, again, I just want to say how much I appreciate you guys hanging out, help me build, and catch you on the next one.